Yesterday, a new article dropped from Bloomberg saying that Palantir are closing in on the controversial NHS contract. We know this already. We have been following the NHS and Palantir saga, but this article was particularly interesting because it says that the deal is subject to final approvals and legal arrangements, but the government was on track to announce Palantir as the winning bidder as soon as this month. And this has come from people asking not to be identified, so people on the inside, because the information is not yet out there to the public. So this is suggesting that Palantir do actually have that big NHS contract, and it's just a matter of when it's going to be announced. Now, of course, this is not official confirmation, so do not take it as that, but it is yet another good indication that Palantir will be awarded this deal. So let's just see how Palantir stock is responding to this. So in pre-market, which is where we are right now, the market's not yet opened, we can see that it's due to jump up by 4.36%. So that is pretty substantial. Now, of course, there's no way of saying that this article is definitely what is, causing that jump. There is also new contracts that have come out, which we'll get onto later on in this video. But either way, it looks like it is moving the market. However, day-to-day movements, I've said this time and time again, don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. The important thing is that you want to own this business for the long term. And if that is the case and you have conviction, then just keep buying. There does seem to be a lot of concern about what the NHS and Palantir deal means for the privatisation of the NHS. I've seen it on my own comments, other people's comments, and just on articles and everywhere else on the internet. Palantir will be giving their software to the NHS to help them utilise their data more efficiently, to help the British public in their healthcare system. It does not mean that Palantir is purchasing the NHS and then the NHS will be owned by Palantir. That's not what is happening. It's kind of like how Microsoft and Apple have their software being used by many businesses around the world. It doesn't mean that they've purchased the data from a company and then, they can use it as they please. It is a simple case of one company being able to provide value to another company, and that company is paying that company to provide the value. That's what's happening here. Of course, the NHS is a very sacred thing in the UK, and people do get really concerned about data and things like that. I understand all that, but just try and look at what is actually happening. We don't have any evidence that Palantir is purchasing and taking the NHS private. Now, moving on from this NHS deal is obviously very, very good from a money standpoint. It will provide Palantir with revenue, fine. But more important than that is actually the trust that it will demonstrate. If the NHS allows Palantir to work with them, it demonstrates trust to other organisations around the world, and also the expansions that it will possibly open up in the future. There are many, many non-private healthcare organisations around the world that may actually want to work with Palantir if the NHS does so first. Talking about Palantir helping the healthcare sector, this is probably the number one industry that Palantir are having the biggest impact on right now. They are providing real life value. Aside from this 5-year contract that potentially the NHS is going to award to Palantir, Palantir have actually worked with the NHS in the past, and they've provided real value on that, and I've spoken about that in other videos. But even outside of the NHS deal, Palantir are becoming integral to the healthcare industry as a whole. Look at what Alex Karp had to say yesterday at an interview he did with Nashville Healthcare Council.
Yeah, no, a year ago, at least the stats we had, it was roughly 1% of healthcare in the US was somehow using Palantir. Now it's 16%. So so obviously, look, there's innumerable reasons to care about healthcare, and I don't have to lecture anyone in this room, but we do very well at the convergence of mission, deep technical challenges, and operators, or in this case, doctors, nurses, health providers who are technically specialized, because also you can't just tell those people to use the product, you're going to have to convince them.
We're a very mission-driven company as well, and I've been excited about some of the products that we're building together by taking, highly fragmented information sitting in different silos and bringing it together in a meaningful way that can impact decisions on the front line. It's not for myself to have or for our senior leaders that live here in Nashville to have, although it's nice information. It's really intended for that caregiver that's closest to the patient to impact a life. And we have hospitals and care settings in some smaller communities around the country, and you and I have visited on this before. It's important to me that we bring world-class technology and partners into our communities. So our communities aren't saying, we finally got a Starbucks. We're the last one to get a Starbucks. We're bringing state-of-the-art new technology to help impact care and improve life. So we're directly aligned with you on the mission.
So he just said that a year ago, about 1% of healthcare in the US was using Palantir in some way. But now that figure sits at 16%. This sentence alone shows just how quickly and how much Palantir is growing in this sector. And it's not hard to see the evidence that backs that up either. Take Cleveland Clinic. Earlier this year in January, they announced a multi-year partnership with Palantir, where they would develop and implement a virtual command center, which is built on the flagship product Foundry. And this would integrate data from various different sources, from clinical records to patient scheduling to staffing levels. And it would allow Cleveland Clinic to actually have a real-time view of all of its operations in order to remove any potential bottlenecks. The important thing here is that they are seeing real-life benefits and outcomes from utilizing Palantir's software. Cleveland Clinic have now been able to identify and address potential delays in patient care. The system can flag to Cleveland Clinic those patients that are waiting for a bed or who are experiencing extremely long wait times for their surgeries. This is demonstrating again that Palantir is allowing organizations, especially those in the healthcare sector, to be proactive, not reactive. And this has massive implications because with the healthcare sector, the end customer is a patient. And that means that more efficiencies in their processes can quite literally save lives. Not only this, but they have used Palantir to really help with their staffing levels. They have been able to ensure that the right amount of staff are in the right places at the right time. With Palantir's help, they know how many patients they are expecting in on a given day. And this means they can then go in and adjust the staffing levels accordingly. And they can also utilize their resources way more efficiently. The system can identify different rooms and beds that are perhaps not in use and aren't planning to be in use for a little while. So then they can go in and actually reassign those to patients that need them. And then we have the partnership with Tampa General Hospital. Brian Hammond, who is the CTO at Tampa General, said that we are data rich but information poor. That means that they understand they have so much data, but they just don't know how to use that data properly. And of course, this is where Palantir come in again. With Palantir's help, they have seen a 30% improvement in the staffing ratios in those affected units. This means more nurses have been available when they need them. They've also seen improvements in the post-care unit, including a 28% reduction hold time. This is basically the unit where patients go to recover after surgery, and hold time is the time that the patient spends waiting for a bed in that care unit. So a 28% reduction in the hold time means that these patients are now being seen and treated more quickly. Palantir's software has also been able to develop a predictive model that can predict with 85% accuracy which patients are likely to actually have a long hold time in the post-care unit. This information can then be used to allocate resources more effectively and help to reduce those wait times for the patients. And this is just a few of the real-world benefits that organizations in the healthcare sector are seeing by working with Palantir. The point here is that the healthcare industry is massive. It is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and it is one of the fastest growing industries out there. And I've just spoken about only 3 different companies within the healthcare sector that are already working with Palantir. You also have Cardinal Health. You have the National Institute of Health. There's many, many more that you can go and read about. In January this year, Palantir said that 10% of all the commercial revenue within the US is actually accounted for by the healthcare sector. And as they expand within this sector, let alone all the other sectors that they're working with, they will see a massive upside in their business. Because like I said, the healthcare sector is humongous and they are only just getting started in the partnerships that they're making. Of course, having income from a diversified range of sectors from both commercial companies, government organizations, all around the world is going to be the safest bet from Palantir moving forward. It is still really, really cool to see the massive potential in this sector alone. Now, just moving away from the healthcare sector, I wanted to make sure all of you Palantir investors are aware of the latest information coming out on this company. So Palantir have just announced the next steps in their partnership with the British firm, massive company, PwC. So I tweeted about this earlier today, but it says the alliance will see PwC leverage Palantir Foundry, the platform for integrating data analytics and operations, and Palantir's artificial intelligence platform AIP to help clients identify and action strategies for value creation and operational transformation. And I've just put here, you can read all about this if you follow me over on X, but I put here, as exciting as new contracts are, seeing existing alliances move forward shows just how much value Palantir is providing. They are deepening relationships, and it's good to see them work with companies outside of the US. So this is really exciting because it basically means that PwC have already seen such value in Palantir software that they want to move forward with this partnership, and they want to look to see how else Palantir can help them. And of course, what I mean by the second part of this paragraph here is that this is not a US company, it's another company in the UK. They are a global company, of course, but just seeing more and more companies that are working with Palantir outside of the US is really going to help them expand globally. And also it's going to account for more of their revenue from outside of the US moving forward. If you want to chat to me every day about Palantir or other stocks or just investing in general, and you want to know exactly when I'm buying and selling positions in my own portfolio, then join the Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description below. Thank you so much for supporting this channel, and I'll be back with another video very shortly.